You're listening to the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
Hey everybody, we are back. It's the Angry Marks Rewind podcast here at AngryMarks.com, your number one source for pro wrestling, mixed martial arts news and information. I am Rohan Unra. Catch me on Twitter at Rohan Unra, and I am joined once again, as always, by my wonderful co-host, Mike Poulin. Mike, how are you doing today? Hey, we're at episode 20. This is a big deal.
Yes, we are not quite legally able to drink.
In Canada, we are.
Yes, in Canada, I'm... All right.
In Canada, we could have drunk 2 years ago.
I don't know. Some states might have the legal drinking age younger. I'm not sure. I know Maine is 21.
Right. But hey, the point is, we made it to 20 episodes, homie.
2 years in.
Well, I mean, it's not how it's not the destination. It's not the journey, it's the destination. Is
yes,
that it?
That's the one.
Well, we are at the destination.
And what a show we have for this episode.
Yeah, do we want to just get right into it? Is there anything that you wanted to talk about before? How was your the latest coronavirus environment with you?
Basically, well, they're basically starting to reopen stuff, and I mean, right now we're having like a surge in like people getting tested because they're just starting to reopen things, and right now we have like over 33,000 people tested.
Okay, yeah, we're
in the last like 5 days. Well, in all, probably about, I don't know how many in the last week since we've opened, but.
Well, in Manitoba, we've actually gone 3 straight days without any new confirmed cases. So we're, like most people, we're gonna jump ahead.
We had no deaths today, but we have plenty of confirmed cases.
Okay. Well, no, we have no more new confirmed cases, and I don't think we have any more deaths. So I will count that as a victory.
Small victories, folks.
Yeah, and I'm assuming that in a lot of the medical fields, like your dentists, chiropractors, massage therapists, places like that.
Dentists, I'm not sure. I know, I'm not sure what's open. I know right now, like, stores are open.
Some of the big box stores around here, like, they always stayed open. But you've got your
smaller businesses are going to start opening on Monday.
And there's a ton of restaurants that we're going to lose permanently around here, so that really sucks.
Oh, we've already lost a few because they couldn't sustain for 2 months without people coming in.
So everyone, go and support your local small businesses. McDonald's, Burger King, they don't need your money right now.
No, support local businesses. Mm-hmm. Keep them open.
I was a guest on the Simpsons Watch Along podcast the other day with our good, close, personal friend, the Peach Machine. So I'm going to see if I can get Stevie J to put a link in the YouTube video here for that. We watched an episode.
I'm actually going to be a guest sometime next month. I don't know a date yet, but nice. On the Place to Be Nation podcast feed, they have a trivia show called Body Press Your Luck, and I'm going to be a guest on that sometime next month.
Okay, well, let us know. We can get that out there. And I said, I'm going to see if I can get Stevie J to post the link of the Simpsons Watch Along podcast. We watched Season 3, Episode 15, Homer Alone. Do you remember that one where Marge goes to Rancho Relaxo?
Oh, you say that's Season 3?
Yeah. Was that a little before your time?
I don't think I discovered The Simpsons until like 94 or 95.
Okay, so you just may have missed that. So... Yeah. Anyways, you can.
But I've probably seen it on TV somewhere because they've showed the repeats, and I've probably seen the episodes a bunch of times. So.
Yeah. So my goal and my dream of being on Spotify has come true. So you can find this podcast on Spotify. You can find it on Anchor.fm. Just do a search for the Simpsons Watch Along podcast. That was a fun time. And we're going to have Peach back in the next couple of weeks reviewing probably some Ring of Honor. That's what he likes to go to. So in the next couple of weeks, you'll hear Peach on the show. In the meantime, let's get through to episode 20 of Angry Marks Rewind. We are talking about, what are we talking about, Mike?
No Mercy 2002, I do believe.
Yes. This was a show that I picked last week because the previous week's show was In Your House events, which I was just jonesing for a really good tag team match, and I always remembered that this particular show had one hell of an awesome tag team match and a pretty good main event, and I think I kind of over-romanticized this event because outside of those two matches,
there's nothing here. It's an easy watch, but there's other than the SmackDown tag title match and the main event, there's nothing.
I wouldn't go so far as to say nothing. I would just say like those two matches were really, really, really good, which is enough to make this a thumbs up show. Everything else on this show was to me merely just inoffensive. So
right, except for the Katie Vick storyline.
The theme of this show is that there were a lot of matches that were really, really good in a vacuum, but if you attach them to the storylines and the angles that were with them, it really brought it down. There were a lot of matches on the show that didn't need a lot of the backstage angles, and we're going to talk about some of that here. Let's kind of set the stage for you. This was October 20th? October 20th?
I know they hyped the Rebellion UK show, which was the 25th, so I believe this might have been October 19th.
So 2002, we are in Little Rock, Arkansas. We are deep in the kickoff of the Ruthless Aggression era. A lot of stars from today, your Lesnars, your Cenas, your Randy Ortons, they all started with the company around this year. Cena and Orton were not featured on this show at all.
Orton was, I believe, injured at this time.
Yeah, Orton didn't kind of really come about until he started doing those RNN recaps on his injured shoulder.
Yep.
And
Cena's in limbo. He hasn't debuted the rapper character yet.
Right. He hasn't been introduced to the Doctor of Thugonomics yet, and it's a good thing he did because Cena did that one Halloween episode of SmackDown that just kind of saved his career. So who knows what would have happened if Stephanie hadn't caught him on the tour bus rapping. So the opening sequence of this show, as soon as the cameras go on, we see Undertaker sitting in the locker room, looking over his recently broken hand, and then Kane just leisurely walks in. He sits down.
How was your week?
He takes a great big sigh. So, how was your week? I'm accused of being a murderer. You're being accused of cheating on your pregnant wife.
But other than that, how you doing?
Right. Aside from that, everything was great. So,
what a way to start a conversation.
These angles were just absolute shit, but I'm sure a lot of this, especially like on the Kane side, it was meant to build up Kane's sort of comedic side because the Raw's going into this, you see Kane saying,
showing personality,
right? He said that he's never been happier, and he kisses Terry Runnels, and he's like, freaks are awesome, and all this stuff, and he's teaming with Hurricane, and then all of a sudden we get, you did it best. Do your impression of Triple H.
Kane, you're a murderer. You killed Katie Vick.
Yeah, forget the fact that we're killing off the IC title. Let's have a death in Kane.
For a few months at least.
Let's have a death in Kane's past and Hunter, private investigator, solving this cold case.
And that actually sounds like it would be an entertaining show for about a season.
Right.
Triple H, private investigator.
Law and Order, Triple H unit.
It'd be fun for a season, and then you realize it's Triple H, and you turn it off.
He can get Ice-T to come on and be his little sidekick.
Oh, God.
So the other part of the opening here, we get a recap of Brock and Undertaker and Taker's unborn child and the affair. Who is this woman, Tracy?
I don't know. I guess she was probably an actress or something.
During the opening credit montage here, they do a recap of Taker and Brock, and Paul Heyman is explaining what's going on. For some reason, someone is speaking Latin in the background, and there's sound effects of babies crying to signify Sarah Taker's unborn baby. This might be the most ridiculous Undertaker angle he's ever been a part of.
I think encasing Paul Bearer in a concrete crypt might beat it out.
But see, at least that has to do with death. That has to do with his character. He should never be involved in anything that's real life.
Well, this is American Badass Undertaker.
Still, I don't like it. And if I don't like it,
that gimmick.
It shouldn't be done.
Right.
It seems like the creative team always had this like giant phone book of ideas for both Undertaker and Kane, but every time Undertaker would veto something or just say "fuck off," I'm not doing that. That gimmick would be
Stephanie
thrust
on
upon
the
Kane.
writing team yet?
I don't know. I don't know who was writing each show, but this whole thing
I think Heyman might have been writing something.
Heyman was part of the
SmackDown.
He was part of SmackDown. And we'll get to that later on in the RVD match because I've got a point to make there. But this opening was a very weird, like M. Night Shyamalan type of movie trailer package. So really weird. So then we get the opening segment.
And the No Mercy theme song.
What was the theme song for No Mercy? Do you remember?
No Mercy. That one.
I wish they would have taken the soundtrack from the No Mercy N64 game.
Diggity dog.
Diggity dog. I gotta make that my ringtone. That's gonna be awesome. So JR and the King welcome us to Little Rock, Arkansas, in our opening match.
What a place to have this show, by the way, Little Rock, Arkansas.
Well, it was on the loop schedule, so.
I suppose they're on a roll in Little Rock.
Mm-hmm. What was the dark match on this? Did you catch that?
Son, I don't have it in front. Hurricane and Steven Richards, maybe? I don't have it in front of me.
No Mercy 2002. It was a professional wrestling pay-per-view event. Blah, 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 blah. Prelim match. No. The Hurricane defeated Steven Richards in 3 minutes.
Hey, look at that.
Good job.
Well, because Hurricane was involved in the Triple H Kane match later, so.
Actually,
you have to be doing something before the show.
Every match on this went under 10 minutes except for the 3 big ones.
Yep. Yeah, this is a quick card to sit through, actually.
Did you happen to watch Money in the Bank?
I did.
Was that not the quickest watch you've ever seen?
Yes, and I actually like the concept of the climbing the corporate ladder. So.
They're going to be changing, I think, the format in which they do pay-per-views now. I think Vince no longer likes these 5-hour shows.
Oh, I think they're doing it as long as they have shows without fans. That's what I read. Mm-hmm.
So our opening.
And AEW has some fans in the building because I watched a little bit of that Wednesday.
Yeah, but they've got all the wrestlers in the ring though, or in the crowd.
They got trainees too.
So we got our opening contest on the show is for the Raw Tag Team Title match. It's Chris Jericho and Christian, the champions, taking on Booker T and Goldust.
And Booker T and Jericho are feuding at this, are having like a weird, like mini feud at this point. But I don't get why Goldust and Christian are here other than other partners.
Well, they're friends of the people that are having the real feud. And Mike, if you were to find a really offensive insult that you wanted to say to me because you didn't like me, you would call me a sucker. And that's exactly what this feud was over. Chris Jericho.
I guess there's Booker T's feuds in WWE. Let's talk about those.
Chris Jericho does not like
a shampoo commercial for WrestleMania 18. The weird stuff that led to the team with Goldust.
Right. Okay, but the shampoo thing, I understand that because that took money out of his mouth.
Right.
That took food off of his table. Come on.
And this is also part of Booker T and Goldust chasing the tag titles because they had a shot a couple months earlier at SummerSlam against Christian and another tag partner.
Christian and Lance.
Yeah.
So Christian is just burning through tag partners here in 2002.
Well, they said this is like his. Oh, he's 8 times with Edge. This is like his 10th or 11th title reign, and with 3 different partners or whatever.
So you notice the belts that they come out with, they still have the WWF scratch logos on them.
Yep.
So I'm wondering how they got away with that, or if that was not part of the wildlife lawsuit. Maybe the World Wildlife people just had no idea that
we
the
don't
logos...
care about your belts.
Yeah, we don't care about your tin jewelry. So all 4 guys get a separate entrance. This takes about 20 minutes. Based on the SmackDown...
Christian does not have his weird pyro, but he has that that theme song that he had for like the first couple years of Christian,
you're on your own. I'm hoping my neighbors can't hear me. Speaking of sound, I don't know if you can hear, there's a playground like right outside my bedroom window, and there are little children screaming. Like, anyone who's listening to this might, if they can hear it, they might think that there's children being murdered out here. None of them are named Katie Vick. So what I noticed right off the bat is, based on what the SmackDown tag team division was like, this particular match, I think, showed a real lack of talent depth on the Raw tag side. Like, as good as all four of these guys are, it was nothing
They're
compared.
good. Well, Booker's a good tag team competitor, obviously, but the rest of these guys are better off as singles, and it feels like, other than like Booker T and Goldust having great chemistry, it's like Jericho was undisputed champion just 6 months earlier.
Right, but you take a look at, like, who were the tag teams around on Raw in 2002?
Jericho and Christian, Booker and Goldust, Kane and Hurricane, Storm and Regal. I just started teaming up. 3 Minute Warning had just come in.
They didn't come. Yeah. Oh no. They were on SmackDown.
Yeah, they were on Raw.
They were on Raw. That's right.
They had debuted after SummerSlam, I believe. Because they were at Unforgiven the previous month.
I don't know. Maybe just because of the particular SmackDown tag title match here, it made the Raw tag title seem really insignificant.
Oh, I don't think Raw ever had a strong tag division, actually. But SmackDown did for about, probably a year or so, and then that petered out once you got like the Bashams and the APA and those guys in there.
And you got Billy and Chuck were on SmackDown.
Although I think Billy might have been injured at this point.
You had
Reverend Devon and Ron Simmons.
Right. You had. But they were also SmackDown.
Yeah, you had the Guerreros.
La Resistance. Were they a thing yet?
La Resistance had not debuted yet. Sylvan was. I'm sure both of them were still in like some branch of developmental. Maybe I'm not sure if it would have been OVW.
But I know like later on in 2002, you'd get like Flair and Batista as tag champs.
That's 03. In 03, you have Batista and Flair. You have the Dudleys. You have La Resistance. You have the forgotten duo of Cade and Jindrak. You have a couple other teams on Raw. And then SmackDown, you have Eddie and Chavo. And you have Shelton and Charlie. And you have the APA and the Bashams. And you have a couple other teams there. Rikishi and Scotty 2 Hotty are somewhere in there as well.
Yeah, Rikishi and Scotty, they were champs at WrestleMania
20. WrestleMania 20, they were champs.
So they were a while down the road. So Jericho is sporting the braided ponytail and the Mennonite anvil beard look. That's a fantastic look.
And King talks about Jericho being a rock star in Fozzy, so that's around this time too, at that starting.
Yeah, I didn't know that Fozzy had been around for so long.
Well, I remember them being on a Raw in 2002 with Jericho. I think it was some type of concert deal. So they had been around since at least summer of 2002. Because that was part of the Flair Jericho build for SummerSlam.
So Booker's trying to get a hold of Jericho early because he's so mad so he calls Jericho a sucker, and then Jericho attacked him from behind on Raw, bonked him with the belts, and that's what kind of built up this match. So Goldust hits the double butt on the heels, and they got thrown outside. The golden butt.
The rear view if you're Naomi.
Jericho gets the heat back on Goldust with a second rope drop kick. Christian misses a drop kick on Goldust and then hits a spinning power slam, makes the tag. Booker hits a spine buster on Jericho. Goldust hits the corner nut shot on Christian. Jericho cuts him off with the lion tamer, but Booker breaks that up. And then Christian tries a belt shot on Booker and misses. And at this point, we're close to the finish here. Jericho attempts the second rope springboard dropkick.
The lion salt and the rope snaps.
Yeah, like the rope just broke.
I've seen like that happens a lot of indie shows I go to, but you'd think that the WWE people would know how to, get the ring all proper.
Yeah, I don't want to be the guy who was in charge of setting the ring up when this goes down, because, like I said, this was...
Somebody's getting fired. There's a reason they don't run Little Rock very much.
You think it was bad luck?
Probably.
So Booker is on the apron, and Jericho attempts to do his... he's in the ring, and he does the second rope jumping springboard dropkick that he's done a million times, and then he just collapses.
No, it's not the dropkick spot, because that goes off without the rope breaking.
But he just...
The rope breaking is him going for the lion salt the first time.
You know, you might be right, because that sort of led into the audible finish. So
the weird finish.
So the rope breaks. Jericho, he just collapses in a heap. That must have scared the hell out of him, because I can't imagine that's probably happened to him very many times. Even though, like you said, this probably happens on indie shows a lot, but probably never in either of the two big companies.
Nope, I would imagine it doesn't.
So Booker and Christian, they fight into the crowd. The belt's still lying in the ring. Jericho hits a Bulldog on Goldust, and now because he can't do his second rope lion salt, he has to improvise, and he does a top rope moonsault, which is not the audible I would be calling if I had just had a rope break out from under me. And then he gets the pin at 8 minutes and 47 seconds. So the champs retain.
What would be the audible?
I don't know. Just you have the other two guys. They're already fighting in the crowd, so there's nothing to stop him from throwing the Boston Crab back on him, and have a submission. Don't worry about doing the top rope stuff.
Maybe they didn't. Well, because they're still heating Goldust and Booker up to win the tag titles eventually. Mm-hmm. So maybe they didn't want to do that kind of a finish.
Have the ref be distracted. Have Jericho pick up the belt that's still in the ring. You bonk him. You throw him.
Who is our ref in this match? I couldn't tell. They didn't say.
I think it was Kyoto.
The recently fired Mike Kyoto.
Have you seen his new T-shirt that just got released?
No.
It's just a ref T-shirt with the number 31 because he's been there for 31 years. Like, who's gonna buy this? And who's
gonna buy the Becky Lynch shirt that just got released?
Oh, I guarantee you that's gonna outsell the Kyoto shirt.
Yeah, we ain't gonna see Becky for a long time, I don't think.
No, but hey, good for them. You notice that nobody on the air was asking Seth about all this.
I'm sure Seth and Becky talked about it.
Right, but Becky got the giant announcement. Seth just comes out looking disheveled, like he's already had midnight feedings and
like he hasn't slept in a few days.
That's right. Welcome to my world, son.
Yep.
So we get
backstage.
SmackDown #1 announcer Funaki.
SmackDown #1 announcer.
He has got a big scoop. He is interviewing Al Wilson, who looks exactly like Jerry Springer.
Last 2 weeks ago, you were in a segment with Dawn Marie where she showed you lingerie.
How does it make you feel? Okay, you do Funaki, and then I will play the...
I don't think I can do an Asian accent.
I will do the role of Al Wilson. Okay, ready, go.
Let's see.
This went on for days.
He just keeps pulling. It's like the Brother Love segment with Morton Downey at WrestleMania 5.
Right. So Funaki had all these different video clips of Al Wilson getting a hotel room key from Dawn Marie, and then the very last one is like, it's Torrie who catches Dawn Marie and Al in the shower, and Al is still wearing clothes. And Funaki.
How do you feel about getting caught in the shower with your clothes on?
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Yes, that's right. The payoff is a Bill Clinton reference.
Which popped the Little Rock crowd.
It's about 4 or 5 years past that. But the whole payoff to this, the Bill Clinton reference.
This was the start of some phenomenal backstage vignettes on this show. Never have we seen the best and worst of a brand like we did on this show. SmackDown in the fall of 2002 is, like I said, it was kind of romanticized and remembered for a lot of really good in-ring action.
Unfortunately, what's being downplayed is the other half of the storylines on that show.
Yeah, the 30% of this show was really good, but the 70% that sucked hard.
Yep. And this is part of it. A fight because Torrie is mad that her divorced dad is getting some.
Right, hey, he's single and ready to mingle. I can relate. We have Dawn Marie versus Torrie Wilson. I was hoping that Al would come to ringside for this, but I guess they only do pre-tapes, and I don't know, maybe he just didn't want to travel.
If you saw Armageddon 02, you'd see Al Wilson.
So Torrie attacks Dawn. A lot of knees to the ribs by Dawn, working over Torrie's back. Dawn hits a headbutt to the crotch, which inspires Taz to question whether or not that would hurt.
That headbutt was a rocket buster, Cole.
Because, vagina. They do the catfight spot and they roll over the referee. Dawn Marie hits it.
Dawn yells at the ref, who I think is Mike Sparks here.
I don't know who it was.
Yeah, they said Mike. They said it. I couldn't remember, but yeah, they said who it was. And then she yells at him, "What are you doing? You're disgusting!" And it's like, hey, he's the hero of a lot of the male fans in that crowd.
So Dawn Marie hits a forearm to Torrie's throat, in which Cole replies, "What a clothesline!" And then Taz was probably
maneuver.
And then Taz was probably the creepiest line of the night. "I wish my mom looked like that." Because, you see, the plan is for Dawn Marie to marry Al, thus becoming Torrie's stepmother. Stupid!
Stupid, creepy, and among other things.
Torrie hits a swinging neckbreaker out of nowhere and gets the win at 4 minutes and 40 seconds. Had to make sure I got the timer right for all of you historians out there. And then screams, "That was for my dad!"
Your dad's probably not even watching.
At the time, when I first watched this match sucked. And now I'm watching it again with 2020 eyes and seeing a lot of really terrible women's matches. This match was not as bad as you might expect it to be on paper.
I think if you did a little more work with Torrie, she could have been something in the ring, wasn't just eye candy.
This was right about when the start of... You're going to see a lot of influence with Fit Finlay and Lance Storm working with the women. And we're going to get in my opinion, a much better women's match later on this show. We then go to two fantastic Jonathan Coachman interviews. First one, he's interviewing Rob Van Dam.
You must be talking about the coach being a fantastic part of this particular part of it.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, for the RVD portion, Coach just standing there and asking, "What are your thoughts?" That made him the best part of this interview.
That's why RVD had Fonzie in ECW, because Heyman knew that he couldn't cut a promo out.
So RVD does all of Flair's catchphrases, but he doesn't need limos. He can often be seen at the Hertz car rental counter. He flies commercial. Even the middle seat is okay with him. Way to portray yourself as a big star.
By this point, I think the dust had been blown off RVD after being defeated by Triple H the previous month, but just, he had also lost the King of the Ring earlier in the year. So. And
then he does a parody of Ric Flair's catchphrases, calling himself the chair swinging, Van Daminating, yin and yanging dude.
Ugh.
This was terrible. And I think this was one of the reasons why I think he was so frustrated on Raw, because over on SmackDown, you see Paul Heyman running that show. Heyman knows what to do with this character. And all the geek TV writers have no idea how to book RVD.
Yes, this is the beginning of the geek TV writer era.
Mm-hmm. It was a promo that didn't fit this performer, if there ever was one.
Yeah. And then who comes in, speaking of Paul Heyman?
Well, we get Brock and Paul Heyman and the Accuser woman, and they just walk past Coach. They brush Coach off like he's a piece of garbage. But Tracy, she has a statement to make. She comes straight out of the Claire Lynch School of Heels with her acting.
Do the right thing, AJ! Oh, wait.
What she's saying is not accusations, it's the truth. But the truth can also be an accusation. So you don't know what accusations are. And
you don't know the definition.
This scumbag is going to get what's coming to him in Hell in a Cell, because she has to push the match.
Hell in a Cell.
I have no memories of this woman, but I'm assuming that she will get a pass on this show because of the Katie Vick.
Yeah, and we'll get to we'll get more from Tracy in a little while.
Oh, we get another fine acting lesson courtesy of Tracy the Accuser.
Yep.
Our next match, a contrast of styles if there ever was one, Ric Flair versus Rob Van Dam.
RVD over as hell, Ric Flair over as hell.
They do a recap of Flair costing Van Dam the world title at Unforgiven last month when he turned, I guess, heel again and to help Triple H with the sledgehammer.
He was a babyface when he at first when he first came in because of the feud with Vince.
He was a babyface on that last show.
Yeah, and he had lost to Jericho.
So the match starts on the floor again. Flair gets posted, knocked into the front row early. RVD does the spinning leg kick from the apron to the barricade. Lots of spin kicks until Flair hits a low blow and starts to focus on the legs. Typical Flair heat spots, going after the knees, going after the legs. Flair is beating him down and choking RVD in the corner. JR and King are having a discussion on whether or not pregnant women are attractive. Which has totally nothing to do with this match. And Ross defends pregnant women, saying, yes, of course they're beautiful, which is funny because later in the show he would make a comment about women that is very offensive.
They're a slobber knocker. Pregnant women are a slobber knocker. King.
Lawler must have just loved these angles where he can just talk about boobs and puppies, just so old stern Jim Ross can sound flustered.
I'm a married man, damn it.
So meanwhile, Flair is killing RVD's legs and now has the figure four on him. RVD gets the ropes. Flair continues to stomp on his knee. Flair then just goes to the top rope. He gets thrown off. Rolling Thunder and a frog splash for the win at 8 minutes.
Yeah, the finish is weird because it's just he hits a spin kick and he goes and hits the frog splash and it's like,
right,
flat.
It's like RVD's comeback, move, frog splash, win.
Done.
8 minutes. So on paper, like I said, this was a big clash of styles, but with all of Flair's opponents that he's had over the years, there have been a lot of styles clashes, and so this one didn't really rank up there with anything that was, too special.
Like, this is a good TV match if you put it on a Raw or something at this time, but as a pay-per-view, not so much.
It's kind of a catch-22 because it's too short to be a pay-per-view match, but if you added, 5 more minutes to this, it would have been a really long Raw match, which probably would have ended in some sort of schmoz finish.
Yep. We have another backstage up next.
Stephanie, the GM of SmackDown, is having a chit-chat with the Big Show, and they're just kind of shooting the shit, and then Eric comes up.
He's mad.
What are you doing?
What are you doing, Joe?
You're Raw property, which means you're my property. And then
that takes balls to say that to a man that's 7 feet tall.
Right. And then for the first time ever, Stephanie, instead of just browbeating the men, she just sort of calmly backs away and she puts her hands up saying,
"Oh, this is babyface Stephanie.
I'm just going to let you two handle this."
This is babyface Stephanie.
Right. So Show asks why he hasn't been on a pay-per-view in months. He hasn't main evented for over a year. Eric starts browbeating him and Show throws him into some catering trays and threatens him. Now,
if you don't start using me better, I'm going to snap your neck. At that point, I'd be calling the cops.
Yeah. Now,
that's threatening.
Do you know the story behind this?
I know what it leads to.
All of this was the result of the changes that they had to make for Survivor Series. So the original plan was for Brock to face Hogan, with Brock going over again. And Hogan wasn't having any of that, brother.
That.
Hogan was not coming back, so they had to create a new star, and Show was the pick, which led to, a very surprising turn, and having Big Show beat Brock for the title at Survivor Series.
Yep. I remember that they brought him to SmackDown like the SmackDown after this show.
Mm-hmm. And that was the show where Heyman turned on Brock. So we get a video package highlighting the Intercontinental title. Since they're killing it off, we want to remind you all that at one point Test was the Intercontinental Champion.
And at one point, Jeff Jarrett was the Intercontinental Champion.
So they show highlights of all the great moments in the IC title history, like Austin throwing the belt into a lake and Chyna winning the belt from Jarrett. Basically, shots of anyone who ever held the title.
Yeah.
And then we had the Cruiserweight title match. It was Jamie Noble with Nydia
versus my Nydia
versus Tajiri. Now, the storyline with these three was
that there was a boyfriend-girlfriend match on SmackDown, And Tajiri was the ref.
And that Noble was, I guess Noble and Tajiri were friends, and Noble was, for lack of a better word term, giving Tajiri a turn with his girlfriend.
Because that's what you want to portray.
Like, we don't need this angle. These two could have had a fantastic match without this stupid angle.
But nope. Well, Vince don't like the cruiserweights anyway, but you know.
Do you think Heyman was making this a priority in the writers' meetings?
No, I don't think so.
Right. Well, we'll get
this match seems like something that was just... The storyline seems like something that was just thrown in like the week before.
So it's a very fast-paced match. It's the fourth straight match that begins on the floor, with Tajiri attacking Noble early. They exchange kicks to the back. Noble obviously loses that fight.
Yep.
Noble drops Tajiri with an electric chair drop. Noble keeps calling him, "Boy, get up, boy. Come on, boy.
Get up, boy.
So working over.
You want to turn my girlfriend, boy?"
Tajiri tries a moonsault, lands on his feet, but then he hits a really cool-looking tornado DDT. Tajiri hits about 8 kicks in 3.5 seconds. Does the springboard elbow, does the German suplex with the bridge for a near fall. Tajiri then hits a really big kick to the side of the head, goes for the cover, but Nydia distracts the referee by making out with him. And
that's the most action that ref probably got his whole time there.
This was Brian Hebner.
Yes, Baby Earl's son.
Yeah. So Noble hits the Tiger Bomb, but this is not the finish because you have to have Nydia interfere. So Tajiri goes for a victory roll. Nydia holds onto Noble's ankle, so Noble just kind of falls on him, and he covers Tajiri in the same way that
Cole is the one who calls this out because you can't really see it offhand.
I think Nydia kind of missed her mark on this because it looked like it was
only been there a year and she's green.
It looked like a bit of botched interference, but the net result is that Noble is covering Tajiri the same way Owen Hart covered Bret Hart at WrestleMania for the win at 8 minutes and 15 seconds, and then Tajiri gets his revenge by kissing Nydia, and Noble's like, "I'll show you how to kiss her. This is how you kiss her," and then he goes to kiss Nydia. And then Tajiri, like a dick, boots Noble in the back of the head while he's making out with Nydia, probably loosened some teeth in both of those people's faces.
He could have waited and just sprayed the mist in Noble's face.
Another match where there was an unrelated angle that took down the quality of this whole segment.
Yeah. And next up
Speaking of things that were unnecessary.
Oh, no.
We have another backstage segment where Chris Benoit, him and Kurt Angle are going to be facing Edge and Rey Mysterio later on in the show. Do you think Edge and Rey Mysterio were in this segment?
Nope. The other heel team is, because here comes Eddie Guerrero,
who is not booked on the show
somehow.
So Benoit is backstage.
As fast as these matches were going, you couldn't have found somewhere to put Eddie Guerrero.
Benoit is backstage, and he's looking for Eddie. He has to find Eddie so he can tell him that Chavo is being beaten up by Angle. And Eddie doesn't believe him and says, "That's not Chavito, that's a little girl." That was fantastic. And they did this because Kurt Angle was the victim of this very same thing last week on SmackDown.
Yep.
So Eddie doesn't believe him. And then Chavo gets thrown out of this side door, and Angle just strolls out of it like he had just beaten the hell out of him and he's adjusting his medals. And Angle and Benoit smile.
"Hey, Eddie, how you doing?"
Neither Eddie or Chavo were on this show. Why were they there, and why were they in their gear?
I always have this problem when they have these type of shows where they have these guys that aren't booked, but they're there for whatever reason. It's like, wait, do they just tell these guys to be there, even though they're not booked on the show?
And point B, Angle and Benoit already beat these two fools, so why are they wasting energy on them?
Setting up a feud?
I suppose. But
there was going to be a 3-way the next month.
Right,
so.
But can't you do that after the champions have been crowned?
Nope. Wrestling, everybody.
All right. Let's get ready for this. This is one of our big matches coming up. Triple H, the World Heavyweight Champion. A title with the lineage that goes back to 1905. Or last month when he was awarded this title by Eric Bischoff. versus the
Kane.
the Intercontinental Champion, the Murderer Kane. So
Yes.
we get another video recap.
One show, one champion.
Like we needed more video recaps about this program. We get a recap of Kane's run, winning the Intercontinental title, and then we get Katie Vick. They're telling us that 10 years ago, so that would have been, what?
92.
1992.
Would Kane have been maybe in Memphis at this point? At that point, maybe?
I'm not sure.
Christmas Creature Kane?
Let's take a look, everyone. Wikipedia, help me out here, brother. Glenn Jacobs. Glenn Thomas Jacobs. Early career, 1992. He debuted in St. Louis in the CSWA in 1992. So that's probably where this drinking party happened that he was allegedly at. Never mind the fact that 5 years previous, we were told that Paul Bearer had kept him under lock and key, and he was burned to a crisp, and he couldn't talk.
Kane's origin story is weird.
So then Detective Hunter comes out, and he puts all the pieces together, and he says,
Sure he does.
You were drinking in the car. How does Jean-Paul Levesque get access to these police records?
The same way Bossman had access to Nails'.
Right, but Bossman was actually a cop.
Maybe he paid off the cops.
Why are you defending this?
I don't know. Why'd you ask?
Kane, you were drinking in the car. You killed Katie Vick.
You know why they chose to abolish the IC title and do the unification here? Because Triple H, because they were going to have Triple H become the IC champion, and he said, "No, it's beneath me.
I want the dinner platter belt."
I want the belt that looks like something you would serve appetizers at Ruby Tuesdays on.
I want the giant turkey platter belt, but I'm not putting down my $25,000 deposit. And the thing is, at no point does Kane defend himself. All he says is, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I didn't do it."
Well, no, he said he was there.
Was it my fault? Oh wait, that's a few years later.
He was there. He was driving the car, but an animal came in and jumped in front of the car. And, if that's the case, I'm sorry, all you animal lovers out there, run the animal over. If it's an animal or a person, I'm choosing the animal.
Right.
This is a poor defense if you were not trying to get a DUI causing death charge. So, Kane never denied anything. So how am I supposed to feel sympathy for this good guy?
I'm not sure.
Continuity is not one of this company's strong suits.
But never has been.
Thank God they did not replay the funeral skit.
That was the next... Well, the funeral skit had not happened yet. That was the next night.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay, well...
Because then they had a skit the next week, the following week after that. I remember that because that's one of the few segments that made me shut off Raw, for one thing.
Okay, as much as I hated that segment, why would you not use that to build up the match instead of... I don't know.
It makes sense. And then the next week they do a segment where Hurricane interrupts Triple H, and they should have the same segment they would do after JR gets fired with the doctor and the nurse pulling stuff out of Triple H's ass.
So, on the plus side...
And no wonder that storyline died.
On the plus side, this match did not start out outside the ring. It actually started in the ring. And if you were to put this on mute and just watch the match and have no idea of...
No context to it?
Of the context to it, it's actually a really good match.
Right. Kane and Triple H weren't bad against each other.
They always
the storyline surrounding it is not good. It's not befitting of a world title feud.
They always seem to have really good chemistry here.
Yeah.
So Triple H is selling his punches. Triple H's selling of punches, I thought, was also very underrated. I thought that was one of the best things that he knew how to do. He always had like this snap to his head when he was selling guys punches. Like it looked realistic, so that was nice. King insists on not calling this match. He's just making Katie Vick jokes all the time, and JR is not putting up with it. And Jim Ross replies, "If the family of Katie Vick is watching, we apologize."
Somehow I don't think they're watching.
In what world would the Vick estate order this on pay-per-view and watch the accused murderer of their family member in a fake match for a fake belt?
Maybe she had a terrible family life. I don't know. Logic.
So I wrote 10,000 words about this, but do you want to just summarize?
Yeah.
The sooner we get past this, the better.
What I'll say is, like, the end of the match is like, you have all the interference because I think they ran out of stuff to do about 10 minutes in. So you have Flair come out and he gets beat up for about 2 minutes. You have Hurricane come out and he gets a pedigree. You have
thanks for coming out, Hurricane.
And then you have the referee get bumped a couple of times, which doesn't cause a DQ for some reason. Triple H uses a sledgehammer, which also does not cause a DQ, and then he wins with a pedigree.
Right, because the pedigree is far more effective and far more dangerous than a sledgehammer.
Well, I think they said that he didn't hit Kane in the head with it, but he hit him in the knee with it. And Kane didn't sell it, I guess.
I think Kane went to pick him up for a tombstone. Hunter had the hammer in his hand, and I think he shot him gave him a shot to the gut or something, which doubled him over, and which would allow most normal people to get pinned, but not Kane, not the murderer Kane.
You're a murderer, Kane. You killed Katie Vick.
So Triple H wins, and the Intercontinental title is no more for 7 months.
Yep.
If you look at the two rosters at this time, I think it's obvious that the talent level on the very top was more on the SmackDown side. So getting legitimate programs for Hunter with guys who were perceived as legit threats probably could have been very hard to come by.
Which is why they ended up bringing back Shawn Michaels for Survivor Series when they did the Chamber.
Of course, you have Hunter, who was at his peak Huntorness, was just burning through the roster.
The reign of terror begins.
Because he buried RVD, he beat Ric Flair, now he's beating Kane. What was his next program? Would he
next program he had would be he'd be in the Elimination Chamber where he'd lose, and then him and Shawn would have their never-ending program that went for a year and a half, even with or without the title.
And then he had the Booker feud after that.
And then Kevin Nash. He also had Scott Steiner in there somewhere.
Oh God. No.
Scott Steiner, Booker T, Kevin Nash. He's killing WCW's main event team from 2000.
All on the burial side.
Yep.
Are you ready for the acting lesson of a lifetime?
Oh God. Yeah.
We cut to Stephanie having a meeting with Tracy the Accuser, who has been summoned to the principal's office. I don't remember this, but I knew this was going to be something. And
Stephanie turns off the TV, which just happens to be one to Triple H.
I know about relationships because I just watched my ex-husband. How does that make you a relationship expert in anything?
Kayfabe, everyone.
So, because Stephanie is such an expert in relationships, she convinces Tracy to just admit the whole story was a lie made up because Paul Heyman called her up. And,
that's brainwashing 101.
And Tracy's like, well, just between you and me, and the camera, and the 12,000,
happens to be there every time,
and the thousands of people in the arena, and the hundreds of thousands of people watching on pay-per-view.
The millions watching at home.
Well, Paul Heyman just called me, and at first, she says that she can't stand the ground that bastard walks on. And then she flubs her line. And then in the very next line, she says, I'm going to get Mark back. I don't care about no pregnant wife, Sarah. So, first of all, thanks for recapping. I appreciate that. And are you going to get him back or don't you want him back? Which is it? And then, like a bad horror movie, we just pan to the left. And there's Undertaker just standing there.
You're a lying bitch.
His only line is, you're a lying bitch.
And that's enough for Steph to say, I think you've told your last lie around here, even though she's the one that was brainwashing her into actually telling the story.
So Taker leaves. Tracy is excused by Stephanie out of her office and out of this storyline, never to be seen again.
Off into the abyss.
This was garbage. What the hell was the point of this?
To write off Tracy.
Who cared about Tracy? Why do we need Tracy to begin with?
For the same reason TNA needed 2 months on Katie Vick. I'm not Katie Vick, Claire Lynch.
We have Undertaker, who's a legend. He can carry anyone in a good match. And we have this new superstar who's going to be the awesome athlete, Brock Lesnar.
The next big thing.
What do we need? We need a stripper that can accuse Undertaker of an affair 8 years ago or 7 years ago before he met his wife, who at the time he was still doing the zombie gimmick. Remember how we keep referring to the fact that Vince forgets his own storylines? Oh, goddamn, pal, this is good shit.
It's such good shit.
What was good shit came up next. The SmackDown Tag Team Title Tournament Finale. The finals is Edge and Rey Mysterio Jr. versus the super awesome team of Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit. My one minor nitpick about this is another angle that did not need to be part of this whole angle, is that if Benoit and Angle don't get along and it gets physical, Stephanie will suspend both of them for a year without pay. So the era of Stephanie browbeating her wrestlers has begun, even though she's a babyface. Why would you suspend them? Who the fuck cares? It's a SmackDown exclusive title. Stephanie isn't losing anything regardless of the match outcome.
Right. Well, they're also building up to Angle and Benoit fighting at the Rumble the next year.
Right, but that has nothing to do with this. You can just have two guys that just want to go and prove that they are the best wrestlers. We know that they had a series of matches in the past. If they were professional, they would know how to get past that. Just have them be a team, have them win the titles. Oh, spoiler alert, everyone, they win the titles.
Yes.
That part was not necessary, but I did forget about some of the awesome semifinal matches that Angle and Benoit had with the Guerreros like 2 weeks before or the week before. So I went back and watched that first. Now, everybody remembers these great teams, but I completely forgot about all the other teams in this tournament until they showed us the brackets.
Yep.
We had such luminary teams as Mark Henry and Rikishi, Ron Simmons and Devon Dudley, Billy Kidman and Ruthless Aggression John Cena, and the one and only time team of Brock Lesnar and Tajiri. I did not see that match. I'm assuming that's something that Brock didn't show up and Tajiri took a fall, I assume.
I think Brock probably walked out, yeah. And I'm the champion. I don't need this. I gotta worry about the Undertaker.
But wouldn't you want to make more money if you have more titles? Ideally, right?
I am beneath the tag team titles, or they are beneath me, or whatever.
Well, he's not wrong. So Rey and Angle start. Kurt really wants Edge because, as we are reminded, Edge was the one that caused Kurt Angle to shave his head and be bald. And actually,
this is also like peak Kurt Angle here at his peak.
He looks way more badass with a bald head than he ever did with hair. And his hairline was going north anyway. So
yeah.
Ray
had just come in like a few months earlier.
Yeah, he hadn't been around here for that long.
Yeah.
I know that this match was 18 years ago, but Edge looks like he's 15. He looks 100.
The Rob Zombie theme.
He looks 100 years younger, and Angle is walking and moving around like he's 200 years younger than he is now. Like Angle could.
His TNA run took about 10 years off his life, so.
Yeah. No, all four guys here, they were moving. There were lots of moves, counter moves.
Question for you before we get too far into the match. Mm-hmm. Which Edge team do you prefer, the Metalligus or the Ron Zombie?
I kind of like the Zombie one.
I was going to say, I like the Zombie one a little bit better. I know they're both metal, but the Metalligus one, or whatever you call it, the Alter Bridge one, seems a little like too, like, I don't know.
It's a little too gothy for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
How about just, you think you know me. You think you know me.
Which they used when they, like, on the old VHS tapes, because I guess Vince didn't want the rights, but they used the Zombie one on the actual network version of this show. Mm-hmm. So that's weird.
So Angle is on the apron. Edge catches him with a spear before they get the heat back on Edge. Tons of overhead belly-to-belly suplexes on all four guys. They were just suplexing the hell out of everybody here.
Suplex City.
Yeah, this was Suplex City before it was a thing.
Yeah.
This was when Suplex City was just a suburb before it became an actual city.
Yep.
Far too many things to recap on this. Action was crazy.
This is a fantastic tag match.
This is a fantastic match altogether. This won the Wrestling Observer's 2002 Match of the Year.
I'm not sure what Meltzer would give it for a rating. I'd say it's a 4.5 to 5 stars.
There was two separate hot tags on the babyface side. The first time, Edge has to make the hot tag to Ray, and Ray goes all wild. Seated dropkick on the corner and a springboard leg drop to Benoit. Ray goes for a wheelbarrow suplex, but Benoit counters that into the crossface. Edge breaks it up, which the crowd booed for. They wanted Angle and Benoit to win.
Yeah.
Benoit counters the 619, catches Ray in a tombstone position. Before he can deliver the move, Edge dropkicks both of them from the top rope. So Ray lands in a pinning position for a near fall. Ray tries delivering a top rope move to Benoit, but Angle does this incredible looking run up the ropes and delivers this top rope belly to belly suplex. Benoit goes for the cover, but he only gets a 2, and Benoit he can't believe that he only got a 2 on this. He's so mad that he could kill someone. I swear.
Bad choice of words.
Ha ha! Murder joke.
We already had those earlier.
You're a murderer. Well, that was another thing. Jerry Lawler's like, I would never want to be in a match with a murderer. Like, did Lawler and Benoit ever have a match?
I don't think so, now that you mention it.
So, Angle and Benoit just take turns suplexing Ray all over Hell's Half Acre. There's another hot tag. Now Edge is on the offense. Edge hits a spear on Benoit in the corner. Ray hits the Bronco Buster. And then Edge sets Angle up on the top rope. And then he launches Ray into a Super Rana off the top. So while Edge is covering Angle, Benoit attempts the top rope headbutt, but Edge moves and Benoit nails Angle. Edge throws Ray at Angle from the outside. Ray then hits the 619 on Benoit, who has Edge in the crossface at the time. So he breaks up the crossface with the 619. That was a really creative looking spot. Angle and Edge then exchange ankle locks. They go back and forth. And then finally, Angle is cranking on Edge's ankle, and Edge finally taps at 22 minutes and 4 seconds. And we have, as the Fink would announce, the first ever WWE Tag Team Champions.
But it's Tony Chimel here.
Tony Chimel then announces the first ever Tag Team Champions.
Edge's favorite ring announcer.
Why? Yeah. Is he better for Edge than Greg Hamilton is for Shane McMahon?
Or Justin Roberts is for Jon Moxley?
Or John anyone?
Yeah.
I didn't know there were so many E's in John's name. So this was absolutely fantastic. So many great sequences in the last 10 minutes. The action was so fast. It was too fast to call.
Furious.
All of these guys, because they are on SmackDown, which was a Paul Heyman baby, got to utilize, I think, way more creative freedoms than they probably would have on Raw, which leads to so many cool-looking spots like that elevated Super Rana out of the corner, or Edge backdropping Ray onto the opponents on the outside. I guess the only real bad part about this match is that if you look at it in hindsight, 3 out of the 4 participants here would go on to have very serious neck issues and be out for long periods of time with neck surgery.
Yep.
And then you had Ray, who was never the picture of perfect health, just got beaten like a stepchild in this match.
I was gonna say Ray would have had a lot of knee problems.
Mm-hmm. I also thought that the commentary did a really good job on this. It was Cole and Taz.
I like Taz and Cole as a commentary.
Yeah, and they made both teams sound really important. They really put over the importance of these tag titles. There were no stupid jokes like you got on the Raw commentary team. But again, like I said, my one nitpick, they could have done without the 1-year suspension angle because nobody would have believed it and it would have served absolutely no purpose.
Yep, this is a match that I think if you're if you love tag team wrestling, you should go definitely watch this match.
This has really cleansed my palate from last show's tag match of the Godwins and the Body Donnas.
Yep.
And then
the Buffer.
We have Undertaker, who's backstage with Larry the Medic. And Larry the Medic, who is a medical professional, is having a moral dilemma.
I cannot inject you with this, Taker.
This drug painkiller, the Undertaker needs, it's some unknown clear drug in a syringe, and Taker's just holding up his hand that is in a cast.
Probably not the first time Taker's had to inject with something.
Right. So he can shoot himself up with painkillers, or Taker is going to do it himself. Now, I suspect a large percentage of the locker room has taken that route. What am I watching here? Say no to drugs,
successor
kids.
to Dr. Zahorian.
Unless you have a Hell in a Cell match with Brock Lesnar, then say no to drugs. And then Undertaker...
Be a survivor, say no to drugs.
Undertaker makes the most compelling argument I've ever heard in a doctor-patient transaction when Taker just says, "Come on, man." And
Come on, man. I might not make it to Hell in a Cell.
And this hard truth has shown Larry the error of his ways, and he gives Taker the needle, most likely without a prescription. And then one day, when they're doing a documentary about rampant drug abuse in WWE, they're going to get this footage, and they're going to use this. I wonder if this is...
This is the man we let free in 1994.
I wonder if this doctor was the same one that CM Punk had so much fun with.
I don't think so. I think the doctor that Punk had problems with was in California. I don't remember the name now.
Dr. Maroon?
Bill Aston. No, that's somebody else.
So Taker intimidates the trainer to give him drugs, pain medication.
Drugs are bad. Don't do drugs unless you have a Hell in a Cell match. It's time for the Buffer. We
then get the death spot. Now we get, this is for the Raw Women's title, Trish Stratus versus Victoria.
Trish has her Little Kim theme.
Victoria is power walking down to the ring. And what's the first thing JR says about Victoria? She's chronically premenstrual.
Oh, Jesus, JR.
Jerry Lawler asks if Jim Ross is sexist. And irony of all ironies, it's Jerry Lawler defending the honor of women everywhere, as JR has just alienated an entire gender.
And we have a lot of jokes, or maybe that was a Triple H and Kane thing where they're talking about when they're talking about all the Kane murder stuff, and JR's like, "You've done bad things too, King."
Yeah, like run for mayor.
Or that time that you got taken to court for, I thought it was because he's not gonna come out and say raping an underage girl, even though I guess Lawler got acquitted for that.
If it fits, you must acquit. Wait. How's that go? Something like that. Anyways, I will start with the positives. I really like the way these two did their lockups.
Yeah.
It was not a typical sort of a bouncy girls lockup. Like, these two locked up the way Benoit and Guerrero would do.
The thing is, Trish and Victoria were two of the better women that you had around at this point.
Mm-hmm. And
Trish had improved greatly in the last year since they put her in the division, and Victoria, they had a storyline here, but I don't know if they ever explained what it was.
Victoria was always great. And, Trish broke out of that mold of just, the blonde eye candy, and she became probably one of the best of all time. Both of them were working super hard, very hard clotheslines by both. Trish runs Victoria's shoulder into the post. Moments later, Victoria throws Trish into that very same post head first, and Trish just whipped her head back, and that move looked great. And that's one of those little, music between the notes type things. Like, you can take a punch or you can take a shot somewhere, but how you sell it is probably more important than the shot itself. And Trish was selling everything here really great. And then they botched a monkey flip in which Trish ended up landing right on the top of Victoria's face. So, not sure who to blame on that one. They can't all be great spots.
Right.
So Victoria briefly throws Trish in the Bruno-type backbreaker. Victoria goes for a moonsault, but Trish catches her in the electric chair drop. She hits the chick kick out of nowhere for a 2. Trish then goes for Stratisfaction. Victoria counters, but then Trish just rolls her up with an O'Connor roll for a 3.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't remember what the time on this match was, but it wasn't very
About
long.
6 minutes.
Post-match, Victoria lays a really stiff super kick on Trish, and the ref dives in as if he's breaking up a UFC fight. I thought that was a nice touch.
And this feud continues.
This feud continues. I think I expected actually a little bit more out of this match, simply because I put these two on a higher level than Dawn Marie and Torrie, and I thought if they were so overly ambitious with a lot of their moves, which made the execution of some of their spots look a little bit sloppy. And I think if you're going to have two women's matches on the same show, I would have switched the placement of these two matches and put Torrie and Dawn in the death spot.
Yeah. I guess maybe they didn't want 3 SmackDown matches back to back to back, though.
That's true. I actually didn't think of that. So I figured that, this match being placed between the Awesome Tag match and the Hell in a Cell main event, the people here really had no interest in this match outside of boobs. So why
want puppies.
Why not put the less serious women's program in this spot? So we then go to The World, previously WWE
We are
New
the
York.
world.
And we get Rikishi live at The World, and he's just looking all sad and dejected, holding them with the microphone.
He's saying, I'm still employed by this company, and they have me here.
So we get Rikishi's expert analysis on the upcoming Hell in a Cell match.
And they showed a spot from Armageddon 2000 where he just gets shoved up the cell into a truck.
Right, where he does the big Nestea plunge off of the cell into a pickup truck full of hay. And Rikishi says that, hey, Hell in a Cell is no joke, man, and it nearly ended my career. I would say
as charismaless as you could possibly say it.
I would say that your whole heel run probably ended your career.
Or at least your overness, because he's still around until 2004.
So he picks Taker to win, and then he is praying for Brock.
And that leads us to our main event video package.
We get another package of which includes highlights of Taker and Brock from Unforgiven, and we get a cool sort of point of view shot of Brock being thrown through the Unforgiven sign. That looked really cool. We see a backstage. I guess it's a surveillance camera video or a security video of Undertaker's hand being broken with a propane tank, and then Brock F5ing him onto bags of popcorn.
That was during a match with Taker and Matt Hardy.
Yeah. So they rule that Taker can use his cast in the match. So he immediately gets on the phone with Cowboy Bob Orton and asks him how to use the cast as a weapon over a 3-year period.
As Brock sexually harasses Stephanie.
Oh, yeah. What was with that? So during this video package, I guess Brock is trying to intimidate Stephanie, and Stephanie's standing in the ring in the corner, and Brock just sort of, he's got her cornered, and he just leans in and then just smells her.
You smell great, Steph.
It's like,
what's that fragrance?
Is that Pantene Pro V you're using? So they're using chairs and chains and handcuffs and table saws, but Paul Heyman is complaining that a cast is going to be used as a weapon. And it actually became a stip, and Stephanie announced, I am declaring that the cast is a legal part of the match. And Heyman is losing his mind.
What?
So Brock comes out first. He surveys the landscape. They explain to us.
They talk about the Brock. It was champion. I guess
champion's prerogative.
Yes. So for all you people that complain on the rare occasions that the champion does come out first,
it's because
the champion actually has the decision.
It's because he's a heel. Come on, let's be real.
The same reason Randy Savage came out first at WrestleMania 5.
So
or Ric Flair at Mania 8.
Undertaker comes out to You're Gonna Pay, which I thought was a cool song.
Yeah.
But there's no motorcycle. And all of a sudden...
what's he gonna do, drive it through the cell?
He can drive it to the end of the ramp.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden he's not from Death Valley anymore. He's from Houston. But I think even like Biker Taker should still be from Death Valley.
Yeah.
So they start out cat and mouse early, with the role of the mouse being played by the 290-pound champion.
So Tom is Taker and Jerry is Lesnar.
There you go. For those of you that are under 30, there was a cartoon called Tom and Jerry. Taker's first bit of offense is hitting a gut shot with the cast early, right in the kidneys. So we now know what caused the diverticulitis for Brock. And Paul's already freaking out. So
Brock! He sounds like a chicken.
So Brock bails. He tries in vain to open the chained locked cell by shaking it. Brock comes back. He is working on the broken hand. Taker has never yelled so much while he's selling. 10 minutes.
Oh, God!
Okay, 10 minutes ago, we just saw Undertaker get a pain shot from someone pretending to be a doctor. So, are we supposed to believe that Taker, A, can't feel pain, or 2, maybe the doctor got so sick and tired of all of Taker's bullshit and bullying that he only told Taker that it was a painkiller? But, like, it just turned out to be saline or Diet Sprite or something like that.
A Sprite Zero, maybe?
So Taker bonks Lesnar on the top of Brock's forehead with the cast. This apparently busts him open and is bleeding like crazy. There's a lot of blood in this match.
Yes.
Taker runs him all over the cell. Taker goes for a cover on the floor. I've never seen that. And then Cole, after the fact, lets me know, oh, by the way, falls count on the floor as well.
Since when?
Okay.
They didn't say that.
I don't have a problem with this until later on in the match. So we'll get to that. So they spend about 5 straight minutes on the floor. Taker is just clubbing Lesnar with the cast. Lesnar is draped outside the ring. Taker does his apron leg drop, and then he goes to the top rope and does this weird knee drop on Brock's chest. And I think he just kind of fell on him. I don't think he meant to do that. So back outside the ring, Taker throws Lesnar into the stairs. Heyman decides at this point that he's going to frantically try and reach through the cell. So on this Hell in a Cell fence, there are sections of the fence that have 6, 8-inch holes in them. I'm assuming for the camera shots, but also for guys to climb the cage. Paul has one of his arms inside one of the holes, and he's frantically trying to reach at Undertaker. It's like, if you actually get a hold of him, what was your plan going to be? And this is where Heyman says, hey, Mark, this is the spot where you beat the shit out of me. And that's exactly what happened. Taker grabs a hold of his tie. He repeatedly pulls Paul's face into the cell. And now Heyman's gushing blood too. And he's getting more color than Ric Flair wearing a white suit. Lesnar gets the advantage. Heyman hands Lesnar his belt. So he takes off his own actual belt holding up his pants.
Oh, God.
And he wraps it around the cast, and Heyman is holding it on the outside while Lesnar takes a chair and beats Taker's hand to oblivion with about 5 or 6 really cool-looking chair shots. And the whole time, Paul Heyman is screaming, "You're gonna die now!"
Sounds like Ralph Wiggum. You're gonna die now!
That's a little heavy-handed, Paul.
You're gonna crucify him too, Paul?
So back in the ring, Lesnar finally gets the cast ripped off, so I'm guessing the painkillers are wearing off now.
Yep.
Brock sets Taker up in superplex position, but Brock just goes to the top, and he just starts kicking Taker in the head while both guys are on the top rope, and Brock is just holding on to one of the ceiling beams. Taker hits a nut shot. Lesnar goes crashing down to the canvas, and Taker hits a very tired-looking top rope elbow for a near fall. Heyman is pleading with Lesnar, "We're losing, Brock! We're losing!"
No shit.
Paul has not wiped a single drop of blood off of his face because he is a professional, and he knows where all the cameras are.
Yes.
It's at this point that Michael Cole advises us that Taker's broken hand may be a weakness in this match.
No shit, Cole.
I actually wrote those actual words. No shit, Cole. So Brock throws the steel steps at Taker. Undertaker does not catch them because he's bad at playing stair catch. And Taker's now gushing blood too. And I'm assuming there was not a no blading policy on this night, or Vince he greased the palm of the Athletic Commission.
Arkansas Athletic Commission,
right.
If that existed.
What sort of sporting events would the Arkansas Athletic Commission oversee?
Tractor pulls. Cow tipping. That's a sport. As we offend people from Arkansas.
Trust me, nobody from Arkansas is listening. Except Sid. Psycho Sid is listening, I'm sure. Sid, big fan.
Master and the ruler of the world.
Your son got robbed on Big Brother. I'm just saying. Taker looks like the first place winner in a cherry pie eating contest. Undertaker is working on Lesnar's hand now, so as the camera now has blood on it, which is a nice little touch. Goes for the old school. Lesnar drags him off the ropes. Taker's face is just hemorrhaging blood, and Cole calls it a sieve. Cole, that's not what a sieve is, dumbass. Lesnar goes for an F5. Taker counters with this giant chokeslam, and Lesnar just took absolute flight for this guy. He was doing everything he can to make Taker look fantastic.
Yep.
So Lesnar goes for the mounted punches in the corner, which is a bad idea when your opponent's finisher is a powerbomb.
Yes.
So Taker goes. Now, earlier in the match, these two guys were brawling on the floor, and Taker went for a cover on the pretty black mats. And the ref counted 1, and the ref counted 2, and Brock kicked out. It is established there are no rules. Pin can happen anywhere. All of a sudden, they've murdered each other with chairs and steel steps. They're hemorrhaging blood. They were able to go for pins outside the ring, but now this vital rule of professional grappling must be adhered to. Taker goes for a cover. 1, 2, and Lesnar grabs the fucking ropes.
Forgetting your own rules, are you?
This breaks the fall. Why am I yelling? This was retarded. I'm sorry. It was ridiculous. It was dumb. It was stupid. It insulted my intelligence. I am taking a full star rating off this match just because of that one spot.
Yes. Oh.
Taker tries for a tombstone. Lesnar reverses it, counters it into the F5, and gets the pin at 25 minutes.
WrestleMania 30 finish 12 years early.
25 minutes and 18 seconds.
Fantastic. Outside of a few things.
Lesnar leaves the cell to go and retrieve his championship. All the marks in the front row are reaching out because they want to pat and rub and touch his sweaty, bloody back.
Gross.
And it is Arkansas, so maybe they weren't too concerned with, the
Razorbacks.
Closing shot is Lesnar climbing the cell and raising the belt in victory.
I have survived Hell in a Cell. What's next?
Well, I'll tell you what's next. As I am watching this show and I'm taking frantic notes, my network feed ends, and then the next show begins, which is the 2003 No Mercy, which was main evented by Brock Lesnar defending the WWE Championship against The Undertaker.
I don't think I've ever seen that show.
That was the chain match.
I don't know if I've ever seen that show. I know I went to a house show that afternoon, the afternoon of that pay-per-view.
So in a year, the storyline just went back to where it started.
Coming back full circle.
So overall, I thought the good stuff on this show really outweighed the bad stuff, and the good stuff was great, and the not so good stuff was merely there.
Yep. It's a good show.
It is a good show. I also think this Hell in a Cell match kind of gets lost in the shuffle, and it seemed like the crowd was not really into this as other crowds have been for other Hell in a Cell matches, and I think that's because
they're in Arkansas. They probably don't get much wrestling there.
They have access to pay-per-view like the rest of the country.
No, I mean like actual live shows.
Right, but you don't need to go to a bunch of live shows to know what a Hell in a Cell match is, but
maybe they don't have cable.
I'm thinking more along the lines of they were expecting brawling perhaps on top of the cage, maybe someone taking a dive off of it, and we didn't get that in this match. I don't think you're going to
get that out of guys that size.
I think they spent way too much time on the outside, which also could be a reason that the crowd may have seemed dead at some points, because at any one time, the battle was being cut off by the ring being in the way. So half the audience, depending on which side of the ring you were on, you probably couldn't see a lot of stuff. So
that's why when people complain about why they don't do Hell in a Cell with every match of Hell in a Cell, I say because the fans can't see through the cage.
Well, that's why Lockdown always failed.
Yes, other than the fact that Lockdown also always managed to have terrible matches on the show. Electrified steel cage.
And they're like the bars were like bright red. That
Blindfold
doesn't
match
look
in
good
a
on
cage,
TV.
because that's where you have a blindfold match.
So again, these are just kind of minor nitpicks. I thought overall that this main event was really good. The tag match was awesome. I thought Trish and Victoria they put in a really good effort despite the poor placement on the show. And even, you take out the goofy Katie Vick angle, Kane and Triple H had a pretty great match too. So
Yeah.
overall, I give this show 2 thumbs up. If you haven't seen it, people,
You only have 2 thumbs.
Well, that's true. Of my available thumbs, both of them are erect.
Oh God. And I guess I have the next pick, don't I? It's like grabbing my imaginary tumbler.
Be like so you're gonna pick your number like Ted DiBiase did when he picked number 1, and then I'll go.
My number happens to take us to 2003.
Okay.
For Vengeance.
That, right off the top of my head, that had an awesome triple threat match with Taker, Kurt, and The Rock, right?
That's 02.
Damn it.
03, we have Benoit and Eddie for the U.S. title. The first U.S. title.
Oh, right.
Billy Gunn and Jamie Noble. A APA Invitational thing. A barroom brawl.
They had the battle royal in the fake bar room.
Yeah, the barroom brawl. Yeah.
Okay.
Shelton and Charlie versus Kidman and Ray. Sable versus Stephanie. Taker versus Cena. Vince versus Zach Gowen, and that wonderful storyline. And the main event is Brock, Angle, and Show.
Okay, well, one of these things is not like the other.
Which one of these doesn't belong?
Right. Why did you choose this one?
It's not a bad card. It's a weird time because 03 is not really looked at as a great time for WWE, but this card's actually fairly solid outside of some of the Vince stuff that's on it.
Okay, we have to get our ruthless aggression fix in.
Yep.
Okay, great. Before we go, Mike, I wanted to bring to your attention from our last show, we had our mock Survivor Series fantasy draft.
Yep.
And just to recap off the top of my head, your team was Jake the Snake Roberts, Brian Pillman, The Rock and Roll Express, and Darby Allin.
Yep.
And my team was Ted DiBiase, Owen Hart, Arn Anderson, Bobby Eaton, and Scott Hall. Right. Because they were all guys that have never won a world title. I put that on Twitter for a poll, and I'm afraid, my friend, that I slaughtered you in the poll.
Oh, boy.
Over 70% of the people voting selected my team to defeat yours. So, sorry, brother.
That's okay.
Next year.
Yep.
Next year we'll pick guys that were just world champions.
Yep.
On that note,
that is it.
It looks like episode 20 is in the books.
Yes.
We made it 20. Let's do 20 more. I think next week or after next week, we're going to sort of get out of the ruthless aggression period. I think I need to have a change of scenery, but we'll do 2003 Vengeance next time.
Yep.
Mike, how can folks get a hold of you?
Wrestling5286 on Twitter, and if you want me on Facebook, just type in Mike Poulin and add me.
Like I said, I'm on Twitter at Rohan Unruh. That's ROHANUNRAU. Links will be in the description. Thanks very much for joining us. For Mike Poulin, I'm Rohan Unruh. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.
Yep. Delicious.
I'm leaving that in.
Good night, everybody.